Ah, here we are again. Hey, what's going on, guys? So, as a part of me trying to make my return to YouTube, I'm very inconsistent with uploads as of recently, because I've been so busy with school and life and such, and just lack of motivation, honestly. But right now, I'm figured I do something. I don't, yeah, do something that I haven't done in my 4 or 5 ish years of making videos because I did this thing called series recap. I did it for the 2021 playoffs and the 2022 playoffs. Obviously, I was absent for the last couple of years, but I'm back. And series recap season 3 and season 2 is incomplete. Like my episode where I talked about the tragedy that happened in Uvalde, Texas that year was probably my last series recap vid, but that was more so non-basketball related. But my vid about the Suns was pretty much the conclusion of season 2 series recap because I just had lack of motivation and such. But I'm back. But I want to do something that I haven't done before, and I'm gonna probably call this uh, playoff preview, I should say, where it's just like I give my quick input about a series. I don't want to spend too much time on this like I do with series recap because I it's just like my predictions and how I think the series could go, how or yeah, how I think the series could go or what could happen in the series. So let's start off with this, and I'm gonna title this video called "the Clippers might beat the Nuggets." Might, because obviously ain't nothing is guaranteed because who knows, maybe the Nuggets would come out and stand up, yeah, and make a stand up and show that they're still formidable enough to be a legit contender in the NBA playoffs, and they could use this series as a starting point for what a potential championship run if that happens. You know what I mean? So let's get right to it. So the Clippers will face Denver. They will go into Denver, Colorado. They will face off on Saturday. Um, Obviously, this is familiar territory because these two teams faced in the bubble. Obviously, this is a photo from 2020 with Jokic and Kawhi. Obviously, the Nuggets have, they still have Jokic, and then the Clippers still have Kawhi, and so that those are familiar enough matchups, but a lot of people are saying that they're basing it off of, oh, the Nuggets beat them in 2020. Surely they can beat them here. Now, I would agree with that in like a normal basketball world because, the Clippers have just wasted everyone's time the last couple of years. But the problem is, Denver, since the 2023 championship, they have lost key player after key player after key player. It all started with them getting rid of Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. Jeff Green, I didn't really mind too much because he was getting old. But the problem was you letting go of Bruce Brown, who fit the Nuggets system. He fit that system to a T. He was the perfect bench player to come off. Yeah, he was the perfect bench player to complement Jamal, Jokic, at the time KCP, Gordon, Mikey Porter Jr. He was the perfect bench guy. Now you get rid of him, you had to lean on Reggie Jackson and Justin Holiday. Those two flopped, and you had to overwork your starters because Minnesota was from their starters to their bench pieces like Nas Reed and Nikhil Alexander Walker. They were running circles around the Nuggets, and eventually the Nuggets couldn't catch up in the end, and they ended up blowing a 20-point lead at home. And right now, the only thing that the Nuggets got going for their bench is Russell Westbrook, but there is a slim chance they may need to start Russ in this series. And the reason why I think they need to start Russ in this series is because they don't really have a point of attack defender in their starting lineup like they had the last 2 years with KCP, and obviously Bruce Brown's a good POA defender. Aaron Gordon's a good defender, and he can definitely defend on the ball. But the problem is he's a wing defender. I can't really lean on him to be the POA and help out Jokic on the boards and do the things he can do offensively. And then Christian Brown's a good defender in his own right, but I don't know if I could trust him to be the POA defender in this series. either. So I feel like they need to may start. They need to start. Blah, I cannot speak. I feel like they need to start Russ because of the fact they need someone who could take James Harden dribble for dribble. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I feel like that has to happen because Christian Brown, he could do it, but the problem is I don't know if you want to lean on him as your best POA defender. But at the same time, however, uh, they really won't have anyone really reliable to come off their bench either. Because look, I'm gonna look at their bench right now and see who they got if outside of Christian Brown that they're probably not gonna start. I mean, yeah, outside of Christian Brown potentially. So Peyton Watson will have to come off the bench. Julian Strother will have to come off the bench. Peyton Watson will have to come off the bench, and Peyton Watson he's just Payne Watson's pretty good, and I thought he should have gotten a lot more time in that series last year against the Minnesota Timberwolves, especially defending Ant off the dribble. But I don't know. Their bench is not. There's nothing on that bench that is selling to me. Like I understand Calvin Booth wanted to lean on the young guys, while Mikey Malone wanted to lean on the proven vets like Russ. But it's just like I have no idea. Like I genuinely do not know that that they have enough come off their bench. Yes, I understand the phenomenon of playoff Murray. Okay, you guys don't have to remind me. He freaking torched my Lakers more often than not. The last the last 9 playoff games we had to play him, right? So I know the phenomenon of playoff Jamal, and he's really good in the playoffs. But the problem is, there's playoff Kawhi too. I know James Harden. He's had bad moments in the playoffs, and hell, I've even anointed him as a playoff choker. But it's just like even if he doesn't have a good game, they still have Kawhi and Norman Powell, who is a baller and a scorer. Powell is not afraid of the big moments. He's been in multi-playoff games before too. Bogdanovich can shoot as well. So it's just like, yeah, James Harden's not going to have, he may have a game down the stretch of the series where he's going to play bad. But the problem is they have other guys to lean on too. I think the thing with the Clippers is that they play a lot more in tune and in sync this year. And that had everything to do, and that has a lot to do with Paul George. Now, am I going to blame all the Clippers failures on Paul George? No, because Kawhi Leonard's at fault as well, because you cannot, you know, get off a championship the year before and then blow a 3-1 lead with 3 double-digit leads. That's his fault as well. But I feel like watching this Clippers team during the Kawhi era, when he had Paul George versus without Paul George, everyone knows their role now. Everyone on that team knows their role. I'm not saying the Nuggets players don't, but I feel like the Clippers play a lot more in tune. They play a lot more locked in on defense, and you can credit the addition of Jeff Van Gundy, who is an excellent defensive assistant coach. Obviously, they annoyed him. I mean, I had annoyed him over Darvin Ham as like a good defensive assistant coach, but again, I'm not a professional NBA player, so don't take my word on that. But they have guys that could defend, like Chris Dunn and Amir Coffey are good defenders. Ben Simmons is a clown, but he's a big body that can rebound and defend. He's just a clown on offense because of his bad passing. But that's really... Oh, yeah, and Derrick Jones Jr., who locked up Paul George last year when he was on the Dallas Mavericks, and he was one of the reasons why Dallas made the finals that year. Locking up Shai Gilgeous, locking up Paul George, giving Anthony Edwards the works on defense. You know what I mean? So they have players that are bought in, that are fully bought into a not a brand new system, but a remodeled system in post Paul George. Because when Paul George was and here's another thing too, the Clippers play a lot more faster. Like I understand James Harden can have like an old man play style and yada yada yada, but they play a lot faster without Paul George, because I think Paul George slowed down the offense a lot because it's just like he's trying to take his time trying to find a shot instead of how do you say it? Crap, I can't find anything. But point is, they played a lot slower with Paul George on the floor the last 5 years, as opposed to this year where they feel they are pushing the tempo and they're playing a lot faster. That's what I'm trying to say. However, I'm not going to rule out the Nuggets entirely because after all, they have the multi MVP and they have Jamal Murray, who's really good in the playoffs, right? There's a couple ways the Nuggets can win the series. Number one, the Clippers are going to need to have a stretch of games during the series where they just lie down and play down to the Nuggets' lackluster play. So when push comes to shove, Denver can get their you know what together and catch the Clippers with their pants down. You know what I mean? And they could also win the series. Well, yeah, they could also win the series if Kawhi gets hurt. They have every reason to. If Kawhi for some reason suffers another injury come playoff time, which he's been looking relatively healthy. Okay, he has not taken a game off for God knows how long, and the Clippers are 17 in their last 20 games. But after all, they're still the Clippers, and I will not be surprised if they manage to lose this series as well, like they did last year. Because at this point, it's just like they're a good team, but that's all they're gonna be ever known as, a good team. They're not a championship team, not a team that's poised to make a deep run, but just a good team. And the way the Nuggets could win the series, too, is that their bench has to perform out their minds. Because more than likely, even though I think they should start him, Russell Westbrook's going to be their bench leader, right? They're gonna start. They're gonna have him start up off the bench, or come off the bench to start up some energy. That's what I'm trying to say. And then guys like Pickett, guys like Julian Strawther, and who else? DeAndre Jordan as well, former Clipper. Um, and all those other guys, they need those guys need to play out of their minds in that series. They have to be reliable for the Nuggets to win, because if they're not reliable and they do not give Joker and Jamal and Aaron Gordon and Mikey Porter Jr. Uh, um, some rest on the bench, then they're not going to win the series. It's going to be the same result like it was last year. So if you guys want my official prediction for this series, I'm going to say Clippers in 6. And if you guys want my rundown of it, here it is. So game 1, I think the Clippers steal one. They go into Ball Arena and they steal game 1 in Ball Arena. But the Nuggets will rebound and they will win game 2. I think the Clippers blow them out in game 3. But game 4, Nuggets play a great game. Russ, Jamal, Jokic, they all play out their minds. But on the other side, you have James Harden. Because James Harden has this stretch of bad playoff games. Yes. I saw what he did in game 7 against the Celtics. I saw what he did game 7 against the Warriors. I saw what he did games 5, 6, and 7 against the Bucks, even though that year when he was on the Brooklyn Nets, he was dealing with the hamstring issue. So I'll give him a pass there. I know what he has done game 6 against the San Antonio Spurs when he was on the Rockets. Ironically, that was a game where Kawhi, future teammate, was sitting out because of I think it was like a knee issue or something like that. So I'm aware of James Harden in that aspect, but there will be a game or 2 or 3 in this series where James Harden looks like Houston James Harden, because I've seen him do it. And guys, trust me, this is coming from a guy that has been very, very critical of James when he was in Houston, when he was in Brooklyn, and when he was with the Sixers, and last year when he was on last year with the Clippers when they still had Paul George. I've been very critical of James Harden, but now I acknowledge that yes, you get your good and bad with him, but if you get 3 games of good Harden, which I think it will happen, I think the Clippers get out of this series. I genuinely think that. Now, do I think they're going to be annoying as a championship team? Hell no. Because I don't see them being OKC the way I see teams like, my Lakers, for example, being OKC, right? Maybe the Nuggets themselves can beat Oklahoma City. But even then, that's dependent on their bench. And if they can give Jokic some they could spare Jokic's minutes from the bench, or they can spare Jokic some minutes with bench production. But I feel like that'll, just like this series, it'll play a factor into that series should they get out of this first round. But overall, going back to my score prediction, because I went on a little tangent there. Game 4, I think James Harden has a great game. I think he'll have a blast from the past Harden game. Game 5, I think the Nuggets win uh, by double digits in Ball Arena. But I call that the Game 5 consolation prize game, where where it's just like, okay, teams down 3-1, they going back home, they don't want to lose in front of their fans, so I call it the consolation prize game. But overall, I think the Clippers close it out at Intuit Dome to move on to the second round. So yeah, those are my thoughts. If you guys want to input your takes on how you think the series will go, if you guys think the Nuggets will repeat history and beat the Clippers on their home floor in a game 6 or game 7, or even, or hell, if you guys think the Nuggets will sweep the Clippers, just let me know in the comments. If you guys have any predictions, just let me know, and yeah, just let me know in the comment section what you guys think. So yeah, that is episode 1 of Playoff Preview. More episodes will be coming out. I'm probably gonna film another episode later today, talking about the Lakers and the T Wolves. So until then, that is the end of this video. I'm X. Deuces.